Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Paper Rose Studio just released a beautiful new Christmas collection. It's called Joy to the World. This is a Christian Christmas collection. They sent me several products from the new collection, but there are other items as well. And I will put a link for the full Joy to the World collection if you want to check it out. There are two paper packs for the collection. There's the original Joy to the World and also Joy to the World Basics. Both are available in 6x6 and 12x12 sizes. I have the 12x12 version of Joy to the World, and I'll go through it so you can see what's included. What I love about Paper Rose's 12x12 collections, on the back of the cover sheet, it's filled with sentiments, and they're all in colors that match the pattern paper. The 12x12 collection includes 12 double-sided papers. So here's a look at some of the cut-aparts. Since it is 12x12, they are fairly large. These are 4 by 6 inches, a little too large for a standard A2 size card. So if you want those cut-aparts a little bit smaller, I would suggest getting the 6x6 paper. Another nice thing about the 12x12 collections, on the very bottom, so it has the label, Paper Rose, and which sheet this is. On the back side, there's a polka dot design. So absolutely zero waste with their 12x12 paper. Here's another sheet of cut-aparts. This time they're smaller, 3 by 4 inches, so they'll work perfectly on an A2 size card or larger. And if you don't care for the cut-aparts or some of the patterns, you can always flip over the sheet and use the design on the other side. Some of the images are fairly large, so this would be perfect inside a scrapbook or a larger project. The collection includes some lovely stripe designs, this beautiful watercolor looking pattern, and this sheet is my favorite. I think it would be perfect to frame and add to my Christmas decor. On the back side, there are smaller images of Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and the manger. And then the final sheet, there's only one of this sheet, more cut-aparts. And on the back side, there's a blue tone-on-tone diagonal stripe design. And then it has that polka dot strip at the very bottom. So that was the Joy to the World collection. And here's a look at the Joy to the World Basics collection. And this one is also available in 12x12. I have the 6x6 size. There are 18 double-sided pattern papers, lots of beautiful designs. There are a couple of sheets that have a large image, like the one with Jesus, Mary, Joseph inside a large wreath. That one would be a little bit harder to use on an A2 size card. This would be another perfect thing to add to a different project. There are a few other designs that have those larger images, but you could trim them down to add to a card. But most of the designs in the Basics collection are tone-on-tone or smaller pattern designs. For my cards, I'll be using a mix of both paper collections. I also have 3 of the coordinating Embossed die cut packs. There's Joy to the World Embossed die cuts, Joy to the World Tags and Tickets Embossed die cuts, and also Joy to the World Quick Cards die cuts. I'll start by showing the Joy to the World Embossed die cut pack. There are 4 sheets. These are 6 by 8 inches in size, and they include embossed pop-out die cuts. So no fussy cutting required. You simply pop out the different images. Paper Rose's embossed die cut packs are some of my favorites. I love the glossy embossed detail. This set includes a fun variety of images, and everything coordinates perfectly with the pattern paper. After I pop out all the different images, I use a pair of scissors and trim off the tiny white paper tab. You could also use a craft knife to cut that piece before popping them out. Next up is the Joy to the World Tags and Tickets Embossed die cuts. And this set includes quite a few sentiments. Many of the tags also include sentiments, There are lots of beautiful images, plus a few fun banners. And you can mix and match all the different embossed die cut packs together. The last die cut pack I have is the Quick Cards die cut pack. It also includes the embossed pop-out die cuts. There are 4 sheets, and these are the same 4 sheets that are included in their Quick Cards collection. And if you're like me and you love their Quick Cards kit, there is a Joy to the World collection. 2 of the sheets include large circle images with tons of sentiments, and the other 2 sheets have a mix of images, tags, and banners. For my cards, I'll be using both paper collections and all 3 embossed die cut packs. I have one final item that's part of the Joy to the World collection. This is their mini junk journal folio kit. Now, I've never used their folio kits before, but this looks really fun. I'll open it up so you can see what's included. There are 8 single-sided 8.5 by 11 sheets, and it includes junk journal elements. And just like their other die cut packs, you simply pop these out, no fussy cutting required. There are several pieces that are scored, so you know you would fold them in those areas. The backside of the cover sheet includes instructions on how to assemble the mini folio. And with this one set, you'll be able to make 2 mini junk journal folios. Now, I've never made a junk journal before, so this will be new for me. I plan on using it in a separate video. So today's video, I'll be focused on cards. Now, if you don't want to make the junk journal, you could use these different pieces and add them to your card, scrapbook, or other projects. I love all the beautiful images and sentiments in this set. So there's a look at the final sheet. And Paper Rose Studio has other themes for their mini junk journal folio kits. So there's a look at everything I received as part of the Joy to the World collection, and I do have links in the description box if you want to check it out. I've gone ahead and cut out all the sentiments that were on the back of the 12 by 12 cover sheet, so I'm all ready to go for my cards. I put them in the medium-sized craft stack tray from Spellbinders. I have 7 different card designs to share with you using the new Joy to the World collection, and I am making multiples of each card design. So let's get started with card design number 1. I selected 2 pattern papers from the 12 by 12 collection, and I cut them in half diagonally. So the 2 pieces together would be 4 inches by 5.25 inches, and I'm adding them on a dark green cardstock layer, and that piece is A2 size, 4.25 inches by 5.5 inches. There will be just a slight gap between the 2 pattern papers. To add a little bit of separation and shine, I'm putting a Love from Lizi peel off right over that gap area. This is the gold color in pinstripe style, and I'm using the widest width. And I'll use a craft knife to cut the end of the peel off so it's flush with the pattern paper edge. I'll save this leftover peel off scraps, and sometimes you only need a teeny tiny piece. Then I'll trim the last tiny bit in the lower left-hand corner. Make sure to put the cap back on my craft knife. Don't want to accidentally stab myself. Next, I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4.25 inches by 5.5 inches. For a sentiment, I'm using one of the cut-aparts that's on the back of the 12 by 12 cover sheet. Have a very Merry Christmas. I'll cut a fishtail on the left side, and on the back side of the sentiment, I put some clear double-sided adhesive tape. I'll remove the release paper and add the sentiment about 1 inch up from the bottom of the card. Before pressing that down, I'll make sure it's on nice and straight. I'm also adding one of the image die cut pieces, beautiful angel that matches the angel pattern paper, and I did pop it up using foam dimension. I have the small foam squares from scrapbook.com in the 1mm thickness. Put the angel above the sentiment on the right side, and for embellishments I'm using more peel-offs. This is the gold color in mini circle style. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. For 2 of the cards, the pattern paper pieces are switched, and I use different sentiments and embossed die cut images. This is a very simple card design, and I love that you can feature 2 different pattern papers. Now moving on to card design number 2, I will be using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from MFT, it's number 549. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For the background of my card, I used the pattern paper from the 6x6 Basics with the small nativity scenes. I cut that piece to 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And for the 2 diagonal strips, one is this light tan beige color with the stars, and the other is a polka dot design, which is the edge piece of one of the 12x12 papers. I did cut those narrow strips a little bit wider than what's indicated on the card sketch. The star piece is 1 inch wide, and the polka dot piece is ½ inch wide. The 2 diagonal strips were about 6 inches long. I wanted them a little bit longer than needed for the card. I put adhesive on the back, added both of those down, and then used a pair of scissors to cut them flush on the edges. For a little bit of separation and shine, I'm adding a Love from Lizi peel-off. This is the Racing Green Mirror color in pinstripe style, and I'm using the medium width. I am leaving a little gap in the center since I'll be covering up that area with the image and sentiment. I'll wrap the ends of the peel-offs around the back, layer the pattern paper piece on some green cardstock, and that green cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 inch. So 4 1/8 inch by 5 3/8 inch. I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll add a stitch circle die cut, and I use Paper Rose's Stitch Circle die set. I cut it out from some white shimmer cardstock. Put Barely Art glue on the back, add the circle in the center of the card. You can see now I've covered up those areas where I didn't have any of the peel-offs. I'm adding one of the nativity scenes, and I've already put foam dimension on the back. I'll remove the release paper, add the embossed image inside the circle, and for a sentiment, I'm putting Away in the Manger, and this is one of the embossed die cuts. Before adhering the sentiment down, I did put a scrap piece of cardstock behind the sentiment just on the right side where it goes off of the circle. And that'll help it stay at the same level. I'll adhere the sentiment underneath the image on the right side. And for a final finishing touch, I have a small piece of green cardstock. I'll cut a fishtail on the bottom and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. And the banner size is 5/8 inch by 7/8 inch. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. For 2 of the cards, the background pattern paper is from the 6x6 Basics. The other 2 cards, the background pattern paper is from the 12x12 collection. You can see the images are much larger. For card design number 3, the card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 694. I've always enjoyed using this sketch. For the background, you can combine 2 different pattern papers. I'll usually use a busier design on the top and more of a tone-on-tone pattern on the bottom. The 2 pattern paper pieces together equal 5¼ inches by 4 inches, and I'll add them on some dark green cardstock. That piece is 5 3/8 of an inch by 4 1/8 of an inch. My top pattern paper piece features the 3 kings, and the bottom is this light teal with stars. To add a little bit of shine between the 2 pattern papers, I'm using the Racing Green Mirror Peel-Offs in the widest width. Since I will be covering up several of the areas, I grabbed a few of the scrap pieces of peel-offs. I'll be putting a circle on the left side, so I only need a tiny bit of peel-off on the very left side. And I'll grab that circle, hold it up to the card. That way I know where to add the middle piece of the peel-off. And then the very right side, you'll also only see a tiny bit since there'll be a banner on the right side. This is why you always keep those peel-off scraps. Now, it would be easier to simply add a peel-off strip all the way across the card, but I try to use up some of the scraps whenever I can. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll adhere the stitch circle die cut, put barely art glue on the back, adhere it on the left side of the card, and I did use more of the white shimmer cardstock for the circle. For the 2 banners on the right side, for the larger one, it has this linen texture look, although it's pattern paper, so it is smooth. I'll cut a fishtail on the bottom, and then the smaller piece is more of the polka dot design. Cut a fishtail on the bottom of that one as well. I'll add the larger banner down first, put barely art glue on the back. I'll make sure the very top edge of the banner is flush with the edge of the king pattern paper. And the banner is 3/8 of an inch from the right edge of the pattern paper. Now I'll put glue on the back of the polka dot banner and adhere it on the right side of the larger banner. Also making sure the top edge is flush with the other banner. For an image and sentiment, I'm using more of the embossed die cuts. The image going inside the circle is a view of Bethlehem, and I decided I would adhere it down using glue. The sentiment is good tidings of great joy, and I'm adhering it in the upper right-hand corner. The right side of the sentiment will sit on top of the banners, and the left side will go off the edge. Before adhering it down, I'm adding a couple of scrap cardstock pieces. That way it stays at the same level. So I'll first put one on most of it, just not the area that sits on the polka dot banner. And then the area that goes off of both banners, I'll add another small scrap piece of cardstock. Now I'll put barely art glue on the back and adhere the sentiment in the upper right-hand corner. So there is my finished card. I did make 4 using this design. The first 2 cards feature the same pattern paper. The other 2 cards have a lovely floral design on top, that linen looking pattern paper on the bottom. I used one of the floral embossed pieces inside the circle and decided not to add a sentiment on the outside of the card. It could be a Christmas card with the traditional Christmas colors, but with the lovely floral images, it could be used for a different card theme. Now moving on to card design number 4. For the background of my card, I'm using the yellow and sort of rust-colored diagonal stripe paper. This is some of the 12 by 12 paper. That piece is 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch. On the left side, I'm adding a strip of the beige star pattern paper, and that piece is 2 inches by 5 1/8 of an inch. I'll adhere it on the left side about 1/2 inch from the left edge of the stripe paper. Across the card, I'm adding some of the beige linen pattern paper. This piece is 3 7/8 of an inch by 1 5/8 of an inch. Before adhering it down, I'm adding a scrap piece on the right and left side, just in the area where it goes off of the star pattern paper. That way it stays at the same level. We'll put adhesive on the back and add that piece about 3/4 inch up from the bottom edge of the stripe paper. Now I'll put adhesive on the back, layer this piece on some gold pearlescent cardstock. And that cardstock piece is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. Put more adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Even though I'm adding a lot of cardstock and pattern paper layers on this card, I'm not using any foam dimension, so it should be nice and flat and able to mail without paying any additional postage, which is very helpful at Christmas time when I'm mailing a bunch of cards. For an image, I'm using one of the embossed die cuts that looks like 2 tags layered together, although it is one piece. Before adhering it down, I'll put a scrap piece of cardstock behind it, just in the top area where it goes off of that linen stripe piece across the card. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it down. For a sentiment, I'm adding Merry Christmas. The right side of the sentiment will sit on that embossed tag. So on the left side, I'll add a scrap piece of cardstock. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it on the left side of the card. When adding the scrap cardstock or pattern paper pieces, I try to find one that's about the same thickness. To make the tag image look a little more realistic, I'm adding a tiny bow, and I use the same gold pearlescent cardstock, and the bow die is Paper Rose's Tiny Bows die set. I love that set and I use it all the time. To finish off the card, I'll use some more peel-offs for embellishments. This is the gold color in the mini star style. I'll put 2 in the upper right-hand corner and 3 in the lower left-hand corner. There are 3 different sizes of stars. I use the largest and medium in the upper right-hand corner, and the medium and 2 small in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card. Again, I did make 4 using this design. 2 of the cards feature some of the tag images, and the other 2 cards I used the circle image with one of the sentiment cut aparts underneath. Now moving on to card design number 5. For the background of my card, I'm using this fun diagonal stripe paper with pretty blues, yellows, and a little rust color. This piece is 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch. On the left side, I'm adding some of the blue tone-on-tone polka dot strips. I put the very left strip 3/4 of an inch from the left edge of the pattern paper. Then I'll add a second polka dot strip about 1/8 of an inch away from the first one. And I noticed one of the strips was cut just a little bit too short, so I did trim the top edge of this panel. Now I'll add this piece on some dark blue cardstock, and that cardstock layer is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. Put adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. As I'm adhering it down, I noticed the 2 edges weren't very straight, but luckily I was able to pull it up and reposition it. I wanted to make sure to feature some of the 3x4 cut aparts that are included in the 12x12 collection. I'll layer the cut apart on the same dark blue cardstock, and I added an additional 1/8 of an inch. Before adhering it down, I'm putting a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side, just in the area where it goes off of those 2 pattern paper polka dot strips. Then I'll put adhesive on the back and adhere it on the center of the card. I'll try to adhere the cut apart nice and straight. It can be a little tricky with a distracting diagonal stripe background, so I'm using the cardstock edge as a visual guide. For a sentiment, I'm using one of the embossed die cuts, Joy to the World. We'll put glue on the back and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner of the cut apart image. For embellishments, I'm using the gold mini circle peel-offs, just the smallest size circle. I'll put 2 underneath the cut apart image in the lower right-hand corner and 3 circles on the left side in the upper left-hand corner. I'll make sure those 3 circles are all lined up nice and straight. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. I used the same stripe paper for the background, a few different colors of the polka dot strips, and 4 different cut apart images. Some of them already have sentiments on them. The 3x4 inch cut aparts in the 12x12 pack make it super easy to assemble some beautiful Christmas cards. Now moving on to card design number 6. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is sketch number 19. For the background of my card, using this fun distress looking pattern paper that has Christmas music printed on the left side. This is from the Basics collection. For the wider strip on the left side, using more of the yellow and rust diagonal paper. I'm rounding the 4 corners using a corner chomper and the 1/4 inch corner size. And I'll also round the dark brown cardstock I'm using for the layer. That cardstock layer is 2.5 inches by 4 3/8 of an inch. For the narrow strip that goes across the card, I'm using the rust polka dot strip. I'll adhere that down first. And I did cut that strip just a little bit too wide, so after adhering it down, I'll flip over this panel and trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. Next, I'll add the panel with the diagonal stripes on the left side of the card. Now I'll put adhesive on the back and layer my background pattern paper on some dark brown cardstock. And that cardstock piece is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. If you prefer a wider cardstock border, I would suggest cutting that background cardstock piece to A2 size. I am changing up this sketch just a little bit. Instead of adding the circle, I'm using one of the 3x4 inch cut aparts, a Bible with some lovely florals plus the sentiment believe. I'll layer it on the same dark brown cardstock, and before adhering it down, I'm adding a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side, just in the area where it goes off of the diagonal stripe panel. Then I'll put adhesive on the back and add my large cut apart image in place. So you'll just see a tiny bit of that stripe paper around the cut apart. Before pressing it down in place, I'll make sure it's on nice and straight. For embellishments, I'm using more of the gold peel-offs, this time the mini circle style. I'll put 2 in the upper left-hand corner of the cut apart and 3 in the lower right-hand corner of the card. So there is my finished card. I did make 4 using this design. I have another card featuring one of the cut aparts, and then the other 2 cards I use more of the embossed die cuts. They're the same image, just a little bit different size, and I added one of the stripe banners in the upper left-hand corner. The larger sentiment and image embossed die cut is from the Joy to the World tags and tickets, and the smaller one is included in the Quick Cards die cut pack. Now moving on to card design number 7, and this is my final card design. The sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 712. For the background of my card, I'm using the blue tone-on-tone diagonal stripe paper, and that piece is 5 1/4 of an inch by 4 inches. For the center panel, the largest piece, I'm using some white shimmer cardstock. On the left side, I'm adding some blue pattern paper with white stars, and the narrow strip, I use some of the blue polka dot pattern paper. I'll add all 3 of those pieces on some dark blue cardstock, then adhere that panel on the center of the blue striped diagonal paper. This is another one that's a little tricky to get it lined up nice and straight. Probably be easier if I had already layered that stripe paper on the solid blue cardstock. I think I'm usually pretty good at eyeballing it. So now I'll layer that background piece on blue cardstock. And that layer is 5 3/8 of an inch by 4 1/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For an image, I'm using one of the circle emboss die cuts. And this is the same image that was on a cut apart, I think from card design number 5. I'll put glue on the back and adhere it about in the center of this smaller panel. For a sentiment, I'm adding Christmas wishes, and before adhering it down, I'll add that scrap piece of cardstock on the right side, just in the area where it's not touching the circle emboss die cut image. So the very left side of the sentiment will sit in the lower area of the image. Put barely art glue on the back and adhere it in the lower right-hand corner. For embellishments, I'm adding 3 of the star images. I selected 3 different sizes, and I will be popping them up using some foam dimension. I'll put the smallest size star above the sentiment on the right side, and then the other 2 stars will go in the upper left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. Between the 3 packs of embossed die cuts, I had plenty of stars to use as embellishments. Now here's another look at the 28 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios' brand new Joy to the World collection. I was so excited when I saw this collection. It's absolutely beautiful, and sometimes it can be hard to find a good Christian Christmas paper collection, and I love that there are lots of coordinating embossed die cuts. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. And I'll also add a link for the full Joy to the World collection if you want to check out the other products that are included. Paper Rose is located in Australia, and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also purchase their products here in the US, and I have links for both locations listed below. Now, the products in the US may not be available yet, but they are coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.